There are places in this world where history doesn't just whisper, it screams. Places where the past refuses to be buried, where the ground beneath your feet hums with secrets centuries old. Picture this, a crumbling temple hidden deep in the jungle, its walls carved with symbols no one can decipher. Or a sunken city beneath the waves, its streets frozen in time, waiting for someone, maybe you, to uncover its story. These aren't just locations, they're puzzles begging to be solved. And today, we're stepping into the unknown, venturing into 25 of the most mysterious historical sites on Earth, places where the answers have slipped through the fingers of time. Think about the thrill of standing at the edge of a legend. The Nazca Lines, those massive geoglyphs etched into the Peruvian desert, who created them and why? Were they messages to the gods or something far stranger? Or the haunting ruins of Gobekli Tepe in Turkey, a temple complex so ancient it predates Stonehenge by thousands of years? How did our ancestors build such a place without the tools we take for granted today? These sites don't just challenge our understanding of history, they defy it. They're reminders that our past is far more mysterious than any textbook could ever capture. This journey isn't just about stones and ruins, it's about the stories they guard, the people who built them, and the eerie silence that now surrounds them. From the lost city of Atlantis, whispered about for millennia, to the shadowy corridors of the Great Pyramid, where hidden chambers still elude modern explorers, each of these 25 locations holds a piece of the puzzle. Some might hold treasure, others curses, but all of them share one thing in common: they refuse to give up their secrets easily. So, are you ready to step into the unknown? To walk where few have dared and uncover the truths buried by time, the adventure starts now. The legend of Atlantis begins with Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher who first described it as a powerful, advanced civilization that sank beneath the waves in a single day and night. He wrote of gleaming towers, vast canals, and a society so advanced it put the rest of the ancient world to shame until greed and corruption angered the gods, dooming it to the depths. But here's the twist: Plato never claimed Atlantis was real. He framed it as a cautionary tale, a myth to teach humility. Yet for centuries, explorers and scholars have searched tirelessly for proof that Atlantis was more than just a story. Some believe the answer lies in Santorini, a volcanic island in the Aegean Sea. Around 1600 BC, a catastrophic eruption there wiped out the Minoan civilization, burying entire cities under ash and triggering tsunamis that could have inspired tales of a drowned empire. The ruins of Akrotiri, a preserved Minoan settlement, even reveal advanced architecture, multi-story buildings, intricate frescoes, much like Plato's descriptions. Others look to the Azores, a remote archipelago in the Atlantic, where underwater rock formations hint at human-made structures. In 2018, a team claimed to find a submerged pyramid off the coast, though skeptics argue it's just natural geology. The mystery deepens with each new discovery. Satellite imagery has revealed strange, grid-like patterns near the coast of Spain, fueling theories that Atlantis once stood there. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar scans captured what appear to be giant stone structures half a mile below the surface. Are these remnants of a lost city, or just tricks of light and shadow? Even modern technology can't give us a definitive answer, because Atlantis isn't just a place. It's a symbol, a ghost of human ambition and hubris. Whether real or imagined, it forces us to question. If an empire so mighty could vanish without a trace, what does that mean for our own civilization? The ocean keeps its secrets well, but as long as the waves whisper, we'll keep searching. Deep in the jungles of Costa Rica, hidden beneath layers of dense foliage, lie hundreds of stone spheres so perfectly round they seem almost unnatural. Some are small enough to hold in your hands, while others tower taller than a person, weighing up to 16 tons. Carved with astonishing precision from volcanic rock, these mysterious orbs date back over 1,000 years, yet no one knows who made them or why. Unlike many ancient artifacts, these stones offer no inscriptions, no carvings, not even a single clue left behind by their creators. One of the most compelling theories suggests they were used as astronomical tools. Archaeologists have noted that some spheres align with celestial events, like solstices or planetary movements, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. Others argue they served as territorial markers for powerful chiefs, symbols of status meant to awe rival tribes. Then there's the more whimsical idea that they were simply art, a way for ancient people to showcase their skill and creativity. But without written records, every explanation remains just a theory. Adding to the intrigue, many of these spheres were found in remote riverbeds, far from the quarries where the stone was sourced. How did an ancient civilization transport massive, delicate spheres across miles of rugged terrain without modern tools? Some believe they rolled them on logs, while others speculate about lost technologies we can't even fathom. The mystery deepened in the 1930s when workers clearing land for banana plantations stumbled upon clusters of these stones, some arranged in geometric patterns. Were they part of a sacred site, a forgotten city, or something else entirely? Recognizing their cultural significance, UNESCO declared the stone spheres a World Heritage Site in 2014, protecting them from looting and destruction. Yet even now, as researchers use ground-penetrating radar to search for more hidden spheres, the truth stays just out of reach. Perhaps that's what makes them so captivating. They're not just relics of the past, but silent witnesses to a story we may never fully hear. Whoever carved these spheres left behind a puzzle wrapped in stone, daring us to unravel it. Stretching across Peru's Nazca Desert, a vast canvas of ancient artistry lies etched into the earth, lines so enormous they can only be fully appreciated from the sky. These are the Nazca Lines, geoglyphs carved into the arid landscape between 500 BC and 500 AD, some stretching over 600 feet long. From a hummingbird to a spider, even a figure nicknamed the astronaut, these designs are so precise, so intricate, that their existence defies simple explanation. How did a civilization without flight create images meant to be seen from above? And more importantly, why? One of the most enduring theories suggests the lines served as a celestial calendar, aligning with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Certain glyphs point directly to solstices, while others may have marked constellations important to the Nazca people. Archaeologists have found wooden posts buried along some lines, possibly used as sighting tools for astronomical observations. But not all designs fit this pattern, leaving room for other interpretations. Some scholars argue the lines were sacred pathways, walked during rituals to summon rain in this brutally dry region. Traces of offerings, shells, pottery, even human remains have been discovered near key figures, hinting at ceremonies meant to appease the gods. Then, of course, there are the more speculative ideas. The so-called astronaut glyph, with its large round head and wide eyes, has fueled theories of alien influence. Could these lines have been landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors, or messages meant for beings in the sky? While mainstream science dismisses such claims, the mystery persists, especially when considering the sheer scale and precision of the designs. The Nazca people left no written records, so we're left to piece together their purpose from fragments. Recent discoveries have only deepened the enigma. In 2019, researchers using drones uncovered over 150 new glyphs, some hidden for centuries under layers of dust and erosion. These additions include human-like figures and animals never before seen in the Nazca repertoire. Could there be more waiting to be found, and what might they reveal about the people who painstakingly scraped away the dark desert surface to create these masterpieces? For now, the lines remain silent, their creators' intentions lost to time. But as long as they stretch across the desert, they'll continue to spark wonder and debate. about the true capabilities of ancient civilizations. Rising from the golden grasslands of southern Africa, the stone towers of Great Zimbabwe stand as silent sentinels of a lost empire. This sprawling complex of granite walls and mysterious ruins wasn't just a city, it was the heart of a civilization so wealthy, it traded gold and ivory with merchants as far away as China and the Middle East. Built between the 11th and 15th centuries, its most striking feature is the Great Enclosure, a towering circular wall nearly 30 feet high, assembled without mortar yet so precise that not even a knife blade can slip between the stones. But here's where the mystery thickens. For decades, European colonizers refused to believe Africans could have created something so advanced. They spun wild theories about Phoenicians, Arabs, even the Queen of Sheba, anyone but the indigenous Shona people who actually built it. Archaeological evidence now confirms the truth. Artifacts unearthed at the site, from pottery shards to iron tools, bear unmistakable links to local cultures, while the layout of the city mirrors traditional Shona design. The ruins themselves tell a story of hierarchy. The hill complex, likely a royal palace, overlooks the valley where elites lived in stone homes, while the rest of the population resided in humble mud huts below. This was a society with specialized craftspeople, bustling markets, and a grip on trade routes that stretched across the Indian Ocean. Cowrie shells from the Maldives and fragments of Persian glass prove just how far their influence reached. Yet perhaps the greatest puzzle isn't who built Great Zimbabwe, but why it was abandoned. By the 15th century, the city lay empty, its halls echoing with nothing but wind. Some blame overpopulation as the surrounding land grew barren from relentless farming. Others point to political strife or a shift in trade routes that drained its wealth. There are whispers of a curse, a legend that the ruins are guarded by the spirits of fallen kings, warning trespassers away. Whatever the reason, the people left behind no written records, only those silent stone walls standing defiant against time. Today, the site is a UNESCO World Heritage Landmark, a testament to Africa's pre-colonial glory. But walk through its shadowed passages and you can still feel the weight of unanswered questions hanging in the air. What secrets did its rulers take with them, and what might we learn if those stones could speak? In the misty highlands of Laos, an eerie landscape stretches for miles, thousands of massive stone jars, some as tall as 10 feet, scattered across the earth like forgotten pieces of a cosmic game. This is the Plain of Jars, one of Southeast Asia's most baffling archaeological mysteries. Carved from solid rock between 500 BC and 500 AD, these jars weigh several tons each, their smooth surfaces bearing no inscriptions, no carvings, just silent testimony to a culture lost to time. Who dragged these megaliths here, and what purpose could they possibly have served? The most widely accepted theory suggests they were ancient burial urns. Excavations have revealed human remains, beads, and pottery fragments buried near or inside some jars, hinting at funerary rites. Local legends speak of a giant king who used them to store rice wine after a great victory, while others whisper they held cremated ashes, their lids long since vanished to the elements. But not all jars show signs of human remains, leading some researchers to propose they were used for food storage, perhaps fermenting alcohol or preserving supplies during droughts. The truth may be even more complex, with different jars serving different purposes across centuries of use. Yet unraveling this mystery comes with deadly risks. During the Vietnam War, the United States dropped millions of bombs over Laos, many of which failed to detonate. Today, vast stretches of the Plain of Jars remain littered with unexploded ordnance, making archaeological surveys a perilous endeavor. Teams must work with bomb disposal experts, carefully clearing paths through fields where one wrong step could be catastrophic. It's a grim irony. The very conflict that scarred this land also preserved it, as the danger kept looters and unchecked development at bay. Despite these challenges, new discoveries emerge. In 2016, researchers uncovered more jars in remote forests, along with stone discs that may have served as lids and tools used to carve them. Satellite imagery suggests there could be hundreds more waiting to be found. Each jar is a riddle, some clustered in groups, others standing alone, their arrangement following patterns we don't yet understand. Were they markers for trade routes, sacred sites aligned with the stars, or something beyond our modern imagination? For now, the Plain of Jars keeps its secrets, a haunting reminder of how much history still lies buried just beyond our reach. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies something that shouldn't be there, a massive underwater structure with sharp, geometric edges, towering pillars, and what appears to be a grand staircase carved into the rock. Discovered in 1986 by a local diver, the Yonaguni Monument has sparked a fiery debate among scientists and historians. Is this a natural formation shaped by millennia of ocean currents? Or could it be the ruins of a lost civilization, swallowed by the sea thousands of years ago? Those who argue for human intervention point to the structure's uncanny symmetry. The flat terraces, perfect right angles, and what looks like a ceremonial platform seem too precise to be the work of nature alone. Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist, has spent decades studying the site, convinced it was built by an ancient culture, possibly the same one that inspired myths of a sunken continent like Mu. He's identified what he believes are carvings resembling animals, a humanoid face, and even a stone circle that echoes Neolithic monuments. But skeptics counter that these features are just pareidolia, our brains tricking us into seeing patterns where none exist. Geologists note that the sandstone in the area naturally fractures along straight lines due to tectonic activity, creating formations that mimic man-made structures. The currents here are powerful, sculpting the rock into stair-like steps over centuries. Yet this doesn't explain everything. Some sections, like a pair of towering monoliths nicknamed the Twin Pillars, appear deliberately placed. And then there's the location itself. Yonaguni sits near the legendary Dragon's Triangle, Japan's answer to the Bermuda Triangle, where ships and planes have vanished under mysterious circumstances. Could the monument be tied to older, darker legends? Despite decades of research, no definitive proof has emerged. No pottery shards, tools, or inscriptions have been found to confirm human habitation. But absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, especially when the site lies 80 feet underwater, battered by strong currents that make excavation nearly impossible. Modern technology might hold the key. Recent sonar scans reveal more structures nearby, hinting at a potential network of ruins. If proven man-made, Yonaguni could rewrite history, suggesting advanced civilizations thrived far earlier than we thought. For now, the monument remains an enigma, a silent sentinel guarding the line between natural wonder and human legacy. Dive down there and you'll feel it, the eerie sense that you're standing in a place that wasn't meant to be found. Imagine holding a book filled with pages of flowing, elegant script, except you can't read a single word. Pictures of strange plants that don't exist, zodiac symbols twisting into impossible constellations, and women bathing in what looks like liquid emerald. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a 240-page enigma that's defied translation for over 6 centuries. Carbon dated to the early 1500s, its vellum pages are covered in an alphabet unlike anything seen before or since. Not a single character matches known languages, and its illustrations only deepen the mystery. Who created this, and what secrets does it hold? The manuscript sections are as bizarre as they are distinct. Herbal pages depict flora with bulbous roots and leaves that resemble no known species. Some speculate they're coded representations of medicinal plants, while others wonder if they're pure fantasy. Astronomical diagrams show celestial bodies in impossible arrangements, with nymph-like figures floating between them. Then there's the biological section, where nude women stand interconnected by tubes and vessels, submerged in orbs of green liquid. Are these alchemical experiments early medical theories or something far stranger? Linguists and cryptographers have thrown every tool at the Voynich, from wartime code-breaking techniques to artificial intelligence. In 2019, a researcher claimed to identify Hebrew as the underlying language, suggesting the text was created using an alphagram cipher, but the theory collapsed under scrutiny. Others argue it's a sophisticated hoax, perhaps concocted by Elizabethan scholar Edward Kelly to swindle Emperor Rudolf Roman II, who allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for it. Yet the manuscript's complexity makes this unlikely. Why craft something so elaborate just to deceive? Then there's the lost language theory. Some propose it's written in a constructed script for a forgotten dialect, or even an attempt to preserve knowledge before a culture vanished. The most tantalizing idea, that it's the work of a lone genius, a medieval Da Vinci encoding radical ideas about biology, astrology, even parallel dimensions ahead of their time. Modern forensic analysis reveals the ink and quill strokes are consistent with genuine period materials, ruling out later forgeries. Despite the dead ends, the Voynich refuses to surrender. Each generation brings fresh eyes and technology, from spectral imaging to machine learning, but the text remains stubbornly opaque. Perhaps that's its true purpose, not to hide answers, but to remind us how much we still don't understand. In a world where knowledge feels at our fingertips, the Voynich manuscript lingers as a humbling paradox, a book anyone can see but no one can read. Standing like silent giants on the remote shores of Easter Island, the Moai statues have captivated the world for centuries. These towering figures, some weighing up to 80 tons and stretching 30 feet tall, were carved from volcanic rock by the Rapa Nui people between the 13th and 16th centuries. But how did an isolated society, with no metal tools or wheels, move these colossal statues miles across rugged terrain to their coastal perches? The answer lies in a mix of ingenuity and legend. Some say they walked into place, rocked forward by teams using ropes, while others believe wooden sledges and log rollers did the heavy lifting. Recent experiments show both methods could work, proving the Rapa Nui were master engineers long before modern technology. But the statues hold an even deeper secret. Beneath the ground, many Moai have hidden bodies, elongated torsos covered in intricate carvings, buried by centuries of erosion. Excavations reveal petroglyphs of crescent moons, stylized canoes, and ancestral figures, suggesting these aren't just heads but full-bodied guardians. Some torsos bear symbols linked to the island's birdman cult, a later religious movement where warriors competed in a deadly cliffside race to collect eggs. This duality hints at shifting beliefs. Early Moai may have honored chiefs or gods, while later carvings reflect a society in crisis, scrambling to appease forces beyond their control. That crisis is etched into the land itself. Easter Island wasn't always the treeless expanse we see today. Pollen studies show it was once lush with palm forests, but as the Rapa Nui population grew, trees were felled to transport statues and build canoes. Without timber, soil eroded, crops failed, and famine struck. The same people who carved giants from stone watched their paradise wither, a stark lesson in resource depletion. By the time Europeans arrived in 1722, the island was a shadow of its former self, its society fractured. Yet the Moai endure. Recent LiDAR scans have uncovered previously unknown statues buried in volcanic quarries, some unfinished, as if the carvers left mid-stroke. Others were toppled during tribal conflicts, their fractured faces gazing eternally at the sky. Today, restoration projects strive to preserve these monuments, but the island's isolation makes conservation a race against time. Each statue whispers the same haunting question: how could a culture so advanced vanish so completely? The Moai don't just guard Easter Island's past, they stand as silent sentinels of our own fragile future. Beneath the rolling hills of Cappadocia, Turkey, lies a hidden world so vast it could shelter 20,000 people. Derinkuyu, an ancient underground city carved deep into volcanic rock. Descending 18 levels and reaching depths of 280 feet, this labyrinth isn't just a series of caves. It's a fully functional metropolis, complete with stables, schools, wine cellars, and even a complex ventilation system that funneled fresh air through 52 meticulously designed shafts. How did a civilization over 1,000 years ago engineer such a marvel? And what drove them to live in perpetual darkness? The most widely accepted theory paints Derinkuyu as a refuge, a sanctuary from the relentless waves of invaders that swept across Anatolia. Built between the 8th and 7th centuries BC by the Phrygians and later expanded by early Christians, its massive stone doors could seal entire corridors, blocking out armies or religious persecutors. Imagine the scene: families huddled around oil lamps, livestock murmuring in carved-out pens as the world above burned. The city's design reveals a keen understanding of survival, with wells tapping into underground rivers and waste channels preventing contamination. But not all scholars agree. Some argue the chambers served a sacred purpose, noting crosses etched into walls and chapels hidden in the deepest levels. Could Derinkuyu have been a pilgrimage site, a place to commune with the divine far from the distractions of the surface? Then there's the mystery of its connection to other underground cities. Tunnels stretch for miles, linking Derinkuyu to at least 200 smaller subterranean complexes across Cappadocia. Were these escape routes, trade networks, or part of a sprawling spiritual circuit? Modern explorations reveal eerie details like a ventilation shaft that doubles as a communication tube where whispers travel clearly between levels. And yet, no written records from its builders survive. The city's true purpose lingers in the shadows, much like the dim glow of the ancient lamps that once lit its halls. Today, only 10% of Derinkuyu is accessible to visitors. The rest remains sealed, either for safety or because we simply haven't uncovered all its secrets. As you walk its cramped passageways, the air cool and heavy with age, it's impossible not to wonder, did the people who carved this place fear the world above, or were they seeking something far greater beneath it? The stones don't answer, they merely echo, leaving us to piece together the puzzle of a civilization that chose to live in the Earth's embrace. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has been the backdrop for some of history's most chilling disappearances: ships vanishing without distress signals, planes losing contact mid-flight, and rescue missions that never returned. Stretching between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, this patch of ocean has swallowed over 50 ships and 20 aircraft in the last century alone. The most famous case, Flight 19, 5 U.S. Navy bombers that vanished in 1945 during a routine training mission. Even their rescue plane, a massive Martin Mariner, disappeared without a trace. The official report called it cause unknown, but the public imagination ran wild, spinning theories of alien abductions, time warps, even the lost city of Atlantis pulling victims into the deep. But science offers far more plausible explanations. One key culprit, methane hydrates. Trapped beneath the ocean floor, these gas pockets can erupt without warning, sending colossal bubbles surging to the surface. Laboratory tests show such bubbles reduce water density so drastically that ships lose buoyancy instantly, sinking like stones. Even more unsettling, these eruptions could create superheated air columns, disrupting aircraft engines or causing violent downdrafts. Then there's the triangle's notorious magnetic anomaly. Compasses here sometimes point to true north instead of magnetic north, a quirk caused by shifting geomagnetic fields. For navigators relying on outdated charts, this deviation could send them fatally off course, especially before GPS existed. Yet some mysteries resist even these rational answers. Why do so many disappearances leave no debris, no oil slicks, no life rafts? Modern ships carry black boxes designed to survive crashes, yet none have been recovered in the triangle's deepest trenches. And what about the odd radio transmissions pilots reporting white water or a void before static cuts them off forever? Even skeptics admit the area has unusual weather patterns, with rogue waves and microbursts striking faster than radar can detect. Perhaps the triangle's true power isn't in defying science, but in exposing its limits. We've mapped the ocean floor and charted the stars, yet some corners of the world still hum with unanswered questions. Maybe that's why the legends persist, not because they're true, but because they remind us that even in our age of satellites and sonar, the sea keeps a few secrets to itself. In the late 16th century, a group of English settlers landed on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina, with dreams of establishing the first permanent English colony in the New World. By 1590, their governor, John White, returned from a supply trip to England to find the entire settlement abandoned, the only clue left behind. The word Croatoan carved into a wooden post, no bodies, no signs of struggle, just an eerie silence where over 100 men, women, and children had once lived. This wasn't just a disappearance, it was a vanishing act so complete it would haunt history for centuries. One of the most persistent theories suggests the colonists integrated with local Native American tribes, particularly the Croatoan people of nearby Hatteras Island. Decades later, European explorers reported encountering indigenous tribes with fair complexions, gray eyes, and even knowledge of English customs. Some claim to have descended from white ancestors, lending weight to the idea that the settlers sought refuge with friendly tribes when supplies ran low. Archaeological digs on Hatteras have unearthed European artifacts, a signet ring, sword hilts, and fragments of slate pencils mixed with indigenous tools, hinting at cultural exchange. Yet critics argue these could have been traded, not proof of assimilation. Then there's the darker possibility: violence. The colonists' relationship with neighboring tribes was fraught from the start. Earlier settlers had clashed with the Secotan, even beheading a tribal leader. If the Roanoke group faced retaliation, their fate might have been grim. But where are the remains? Mass graves have never been found, and no tribe claimed responsibility. Some speculate they tried to sail home and perished at sea, though no wreckage surfaced. Others propose they relocated inland, only to starve or fall victim to disease. The mystery deepens with strange clues. John White noted the word Croatoan lacked the cross symbol the settlers agreed to carve if they were forced to leave under duress. Was it a message or a red herring? Modern technology offers new hope. Soil analysis reveals a survivors' camp 50 miles west, where European pottery shards and weapon parts were found. Could this be where the colonists splintered off, hoping for rescue that never came? Roanoke's legacy isn't just about a missing colony. It's a riddle about survival, cultural collision, and how easily history can erase its own tracks. Every few years, a new theory emerges: a hidden map, a DNA link, a cryptic inscription, but the truth remains as elusive as the shadows of those long-lost settlers. Perhaps that's why the story endures, not because we crave answers, but because it reminds us how fragile our grip on history really is. In the sleepy town of Homestead, Florida, a lone Latvian immigrant spent 28 years carving an entire castle out of coral rock, 25 million pounds of it using nothing but hand tools and sheer determination. This is Coral Castle, a sprawling monument of towering walls, 9-ton gates that swing open with a touch, and furniture carved with such precision it rivals modern craftsmanship. But here's what stuns engineers to this day. Edward Leedskalnin, the 5-foot-tall, 100-pound builder, worked entirely alone, often at night, and refused to let anyone witness his process. When asked how he moved these colossal blocks, he'd simply say, "I understand the laws of weight and leverage." That explanation doesn't even begin to cover the mind-bending reality of what he achieved. Take the famed 9-ton revolving gate, a masterpiece of balance so perfect a child can push it with one finger. Modern engineers have tried and failed to replicate it. Leedskalnin didn't use pulleys or cranes. He claimed to have rediscovered the ancient secrets of the pyramids, hinting at lost knowledge of magnetism or even anti-gravity. Some speculate he aligned the castle's stones with celestial bodies. The Moonstone Gate tracks lunar cycles, while an onyx sundial still tells time flawlessly decades after his death. Others point to his cryptic writings filled with references to perpetual motion holders and cosmic energy. Were these ramblings of a madman or coded instructions to forgotten physics? The parallels to ancient megalithic sites are impossible to ignore. Just like the builders of Stonehenge or the pyramids, Leedskalnin left no blueprints, no journals explaining his methods. He'd simply say, "It's not difficult if you know how." And then there's the eerie coincidence he built Coral Castle on the same latitude line as the Great Pyramid of Giza, a detail he insisted was intentional. Could there be something about this specific geographic alignment that aids in manipulating stone? Skeptics argue he used simple tripods and block and tackle systems, but that doesn't explain how he quarried and transported massive blocks without heavy machinery or leaving behind so much as a scratch mark. The mystery deepens with Leedskalnin himself, a jilted lover who vowed to prove his worth. He worked in near-total secrecy, often by lantern light. Neighbors reported hearing him sing as the stones floated into place, yet no one ever saw him actually lift them. When he died in 1951, he took his secrets to the grave, but not before leaving behind one final puzzle. Coral Castle's tools were found neatly arranged, as if waiting for someone to pick up where he left off. Among them, a makeshift generator, its purpose unknown, and a series of cryptic diagrams that look less like construction plans and more like schematics for harnessing invisible forces. Today, visitors walk through Coral Castle's arches, running their hands over the impossibly smooth surfaces. Each groove and curve a silent testament to a man who defied every rule of physics. Maybe he was a genius ahead of his time. Maybe he tapped into something ancient, something we've forgotten. Or maybe, just maybe, he knew the one thing we still don't, that the stones themselves hold the answers if only we'd listen. High in the rugged mountains of the Philippines, the cliffs of Sagada hold a sight that stops visitors in their tracks coffins. Not buried in the ground, but suspended along sheer rock faces, clinging to the limestone like silent sentinels of the dead. These are the legendary hanging coffins of the Igorot people, a burial tradition stretching back over 2,000 years, where the departed are placed in hand-carved wooden caskets and hoisted high above the world. But why risk such a perilous ritual, and how did an ancient culture achieve this without ropes or cranes as we know them? For the Igorot, elevation isn't just about physical height, it's spiritual. They believe the higher the dead rest, the closer their souls climb to ancestral spirits in the sky. The coffins, often carved by the elderly themselves before passing, are tucked into crevices or balanced on narrow ledges, some so weathered by time they've fused with the rock. But the real marvel lies in how they got there. Without modern machinery, the Igorot used a system of ropes, ladders, and sheer teamwork, with mourners scaling cliffs to secure each coffin in place. Some coffins were reportedly lowered from above, guided by vines or rattan cords, while others were painstakingly pushed upward from bamboo scaffolding. The precision is staggering. Many coffins remain balanced for centuries, defying monsoons and earthquakes. The practice isn't just about logistics, it's a cultural tapestry woven with symbolism. The deceased were often buried in the fetal position, reflecting a belief in returning to the earth as they entered life. Certain coffins bear carvings of lizards, revered as messengers between worlds, or zigzag patterns representing the journey to the afterlife. But the tradition is fading. Fewer Igorot elders choose cliffside burials today, opting for modern cemeteries. Yet those ancient coffins persist, whispering secrets of a time when death wasn't an end but a return to the sky. Visiting Sagada today, you'll find some coffins crumbling, their wood surrendering to time. others remain eerily intact, their locations chosen so carefully that even the elements seem to respect their slumber. Archaeologists have discovered coffins hidden in caves behind waterfalls, their positions suggesting rituals tied to water's purifying power. One thing's certain, each coffin tells a story, not just of the person inside, but of the hands that carried them there, the community that dared to defy gravity for the sake of memory. In a world obsessed with preserving the past, the hanging coffins of Sagoda ask us a profound question. Is it better to protect the dead or to let them rest where the wind can still reach them? Burrowed deep beneath the hills of China's Zhejiang province, the Longyou Caves are an engineering marvel that defies logic. Discovered in 1992 by a curious villager draining a local pond, these 24 hand-carved caverns stretch across 30,000 square meters, each one an underground cathedral of stone. The walls, floor, and ceiling are adorned with precise, parallel chisel marks, forming patterns so uniform they look machine-made. But here's the jaw-dropper. These caves were painstakingly excavated over 2,000 years ago, when tools were rudimentary and record-keeping meticulous. So why is there not a single scroll, poem, or historical mention of their construction? The precision is staggering. Pillars left standing at regular intervals support ceilings up to 90 feet high, their surfaces smoothed to near-perfect flatness. In some chambers, the walls angle at an exact 60 degrees, a feat requiring mathematical knowledge thought to be rare in ancient China. Even more baffling is the ventilation system. Air circulates naturally through the caves, maintaining a constant temperature year-round. Archaeologists estimate that removing the rock would have required a workforce of thousands laboring for decades, yet no debris has ever been found. Where did millions of tons of displaced stone go? Local folklore offers cryptic clues. Legends speak of an emperor who commanded the cave's construction as an underground palace, or perhaps a hiding place for treasure. Others whisper they were dug by a lost civilization, their purpose erased by time. The absence of soot marks rules out torches, so how did the builders see in the pitch black? Some theorists suggest reflective mirrors or bioluminescent algae, while more speculative minds hint at forgotten technologies. Then there's the acoustics. Certain chambers amplify sound in eerie ways, with whispers carrying clearly across vast distances. Was this intentional? Could the caves have been used for rituals, their echoes mimicking the voices of ancestors? Without inscriptions or artifacts, every theory remains just that, a theory. Even modern laser scans haven't unlocked their secrets, revealing only hidden chambers yet to be explored. What lingers most is the sheer audacity of the project. This wasn't just quarrying stone, it was sculpting the earth itself with a vision we can't decipher. Walking through the Longyou Caves, you're struck by the silence, not just of the void, but of history itself. Whoever carved these halls left behind no boastful monuments, no grand explanations. Just the work, and that, perhaps, is the greatest mystery of all. Rising from the red clay of rural Georgia like a modern-day Stonehenge, the Georgia Guidestones stood as one of America's most cryptic landmarks until they didn't. Erected in 1980 under a veil of secrecy, this 19-foot-tall granite slab bore 10 guidelines for humanity, etched in 8 languages from Arabic to Swahili. The first directive, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That single line alone sparked decades of debate, conspiracy theories, and ultimately, an act of destruction that turned the monument into rubble. But who commissioned this eerie time capsule, and why did its message provoke such fury? The mystery begins with the stone's origin. In 1979, a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian approached a local granite company claiming to represent a group of loyal Americans planning a monument to the Age of Reason. He provided exact specifications, 6 slabs weighing over 200 tons in total, aligned astronomically to track the sun's movements, with hollow chambers designed to function as a compass, clock, and calendar. The craftsmanship was flawless, each character carved with laser-like precision, yet the tools of 1980 shouldn't have allowed such accuracy. Stranger still, R.C. Christian vanished after paying in cash, leaving no trail. Some speculate he was a front for secret societies, citing the Guidestones' resemblance to Rosicrucian symbolism. Others argue the project was an elaborate art piece, a warning about overpopulation and environmental collapse. Controversy clung to the stones like George's summer humidity. Religious groups decried them as satanic for their call to guide reproduction wisely, while conspiracy theorists saw a blueprint for global depopulation. The stones became a pilgrimage site for both admirers and protesters, their multilingual messages fueling endless interpretation. Were they instructions for rebuilding civilization after an apocalypse, or merely philosophical musings from an anonymous thinker? Even the monument's alignment fueled speculation. Its central notch framed the rising sun on solstices and equinoxes, echoing ancient megalithic sites. Then came the explosion. In July 2022, security cameras captured a sedan pulling up to the Guidestones before dawn. Moments later, dynamite reduced part of the structure to shrapnel. Authorities deemed it a deliberate act, but the culprits were never caught. The remaining slabs, deemed unstable, were demolished days later, yet the intrigue didn't die with the stones. Fragments sold as relics online, while digital scans preserved their inscriptions for future generations. What lingers isn't just the mystery of R.C. Christian's identity, but the Guidestones' unsettling relevance. In an era of climate crises and AI ascendancy, their call for rational thinking and balance with nature feels less like a manifesto and more like a whisper from the edge of a precipice. Perhaps that's why they were destroyed, not because of what they were, but because of what they forced us to confront. The stones are gone, but their questions hang heavy in the air. Who gets to decide humanity's future? And are we brave enough to read the writing on the wall before it's too late? Beneath the waves off India's western coast lies a discovery that blurs the line between myth and reality: the Sunken City of Dwarka. According to the ancient Hindu epic Mahabharata, Dwarka was a dazzling metropolis built by Lord Krishna himself, a kingdom of gold and gemstones that sank into the sea after his death. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as pure legend until marine archaeologists began pulling artifacts from the ocean floor. What they've uncovered is a labyrinth of stone structures, pottery shards, and even ancient anchors, all resting 40 feet underwater. Could this truly be the remains of Krishna's lost city, or is it evidence of a forgotten civilization that inspired the myth? The underwater excavations reveal a cityscape frozen in time. Gridded streets, fortified walls, and the foundations of what appear to be temples or palaces stretch across the seabed. Divers have recovered artifacts dating back at least 3,500 years: terracotta vessels, bronze tools, and beads that match descriptions of Dwarka's opulence in the Mahabharata. The most striking find, a stone slab with an inscription referencing a gateway to Dwarka, aligning perfectly with texts that describe the city as a fortified island with multiple entrances. But here's where the debate ignites. Radiocarbon dating places some relics around 1500 BC, while the Mahabharata's events are traditionally set closer to 3200 BC. If the dates don't sync, does that disprove the connection, or could Dwarka have been rebuilt multiple times, with only the final incarnation lost to the waves? Skeptics argue the ruins belong to an ancient port city unrelated to Krishna's legend, pointing to similar submerged sites along India's coast. The Gulf of Combat, for instance, holds even older structures, possibly 9,000 years, suggesting a network of sophisticated coastal settlements swallowed by rising sea levels. But believers counter with eerie details. Underwater sonar scans show a river channel matching the Mahabharata's description of the Saraswati River, which once flowed near Dwarka before vanishing. Then there's the matter of the city's sudden demise. Geological evidence hints at a massive tsunami or tectonic shift around 1500 BC, a catastrophe that could mirror the epic's account of Dwarka's apocalyptic end. The controversy extends beyond archaeology. For many Hindus, Dwarka isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a sacred site, a tangible link to their faith's most revered texts. Pilgrims still flock to modern Dwarka's shores, where a temple stands atop what's said to be Krishna's original dwelling. Meanwhile, scientists grapple with logistical challenges. Strong currents, silt deposits, and the sheer depth of the ruins make systematic study difficult. Newer technologies like 3D mapping could reveal more, but funding is scarce for what some dismiss as a myth chase. What makes Dwarka so compelling isn't just the possibility of proving a legend true. It's the broader question of how oral traditions preserve geological truths across millennia. If Krishna's city was real, what other myths might hold kernels of historical fact? The ocean here whispers secrets in every ripple, offering fragments of a puzzle we're only beginning to assemble. Until the next dive, Dwarka remains suspended between faith and science, a city of gold in the scriptures and a city of stone beneath the sea. Gobekli Tepe isn't just an archaeological site, it's a time capsule that shatters everything we thought we knew about early human civilization. Nestled in southeastern Turkey, this sprawling temple complex dates back 12,000 years, making it 6,000 years older than Stonehenge and a staggering 7 millennia older than the Great Pyramids. But here's what truly stuns researchers. Gobekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers, a people we've long assumed were too preoccupied with survival to erect monuments of this scale. How did nomads with no settled agriculture, no metal tools, and no written language carve 20-ton pillars adorned with intricate reliefs of lions, scorpions, and vultures? And why would they assemble these massive stone circles in the first place? The craftsmanship is mind-bending. Each T-shaped limestone pillar stands up to 18 feet tall, some hauled from quarries over a mile away. The carvings aren't crude etchings, they're masterful, three-dimensional sculptures of animals so detailed you can count the feathers on a vulture's wings or the veins in a boar's snout. Even more astonishing, the site appears to have been deliberately buried around 8000 BC, sealed under layers of soil as if someone wanted to preserve it for future generations. Archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, who led excavations until his death in 2014, believed Gobekli Tepe wasn't just a temple. It was a pilgrimage site, a place where distant clans gathered for rituals that might have laid the groundwork for organized religion itself. This discovery flips conventional history on its head. For decades, scholars argued that agriculture came first, allowing humans the surplus energy to build monuments and develop complex belief systems. But Gobekli Tepe suggests the opposite. Religion may have been the spark that forced hunter-gatherers to settle down. The effort required to construct and maintain the site would have demanded a permanent workforce, possibly driving the need for farming to feed them. Think about that: the birth of civilization might not have been about bread, but about the divine. Not everyone agrees. Some researchers propose the site was a communal meeting ground, its animal carvings serving as tribal totems rather than gods. Others point to the absence of residential structures, arguing Gobekli Tepe was a seasonal gathering spot, not a year-round settlement. Then there's the eerie symbolism. Many pillars depict predator animals in aggressive poses, leading to theories that the site was a cult of the dead, where vultures associated with sky burials featured in mortuary rites. What's undeniable is Gobekli Tepe's gravitational pull on the imagination. Less than 5% of the site has been excavated, leaving the vast majority still hidden beneath the earth. Ground-penetrating radar reveals at least 20 more stone circles waiting to be uncovered, each potentially holding answers or more questions about our collective past. Walking among these pillars, you can't help but feel the weight of time pressing down. Whoever built this place didn't just carve stone, they carved the first chapter of human ambition, a testament to the fact that long before cities, before writing, even before the wheel, we were already reaching for something greater than ourselves. The stones of Gobekli Tepe don't just rewrite history, they whisper a challenge across millennia, asking us to reconsider what it truly means to be civilized. Off the coast of Nova Scotia, beneath the windswept pines of Oak Island, lies a pit so infamous it's drawn treasure hunters to their ruin for over 200 years. This is the Money Pit, a labyrinth of flooded tunnels, wooden platforms, and cryptic stone markers that swallowed fortunes and lives in pursuit of a prize no one has ever seen. The legend begins in 1795, when a teenager named Daniel Maginnis stumbled upon a peculiar depression in the earth, its edges lined with ship's tackle blocks dangling from a severed tree branch. Beneath layers of clay and timber, he uncovered stone slabs etched with strange symbols, fueling rumors of buried pirate gold. But what started as a simple dig soon spiraled into an obsession, as every few feet, excavators hit another oak platform, each one sealed with coconut fiber and ship's putty, materials foreign to this rocky Canadian shore. The deeper they went, the deadlier the pit became. At 90 feet, workers struck a massive flat stone engraved with indecipherable glyphs, later translated to read, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds lie buried. Then disaster. As they breached the next layer, seawater erupted into the shaft, flooding it instantly. Turns out the pit wasn't just a hole in the ground, it was a meticulously engineered trap. Further digs revealed a network of slanting tunnels connected to the ocean, designed to drown anyone who got too close to whatever lay at the bottom. Some believe it's the handiwork of Captain Kidd, who allegedly confessed on the gallows to hiding riches beyond measure in the Americas. Others point to the Knights Templar, theorizing they smuggled sacred relics like the Ark of the Covenant here after fleeing Europe. The 20th century brought more tantalizing and tragic clues. In 1965, a camera lowered into a borehole captured murky images of what appeared to be chests and even a severed hand. But when divers attempted to retrieve them, the tunnels collapsed. Then there's the 90-foot stone, which vanished after being sent for analysis, its inscriptions now known only from dubious sketches. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. Sonar scans reveal caverns beneath the island, while dendrochronology dates some of the pit's timbers to the 1600s, centuries before Maginnis's discovery. Yet after millions spent and 6 lives lost, not a single coin or artifact has been conclusively linked to treasure. What keeps people digging? Partly, it's the sheer improbability of it all. The pit's engineering is too sophisticated for a hoax, yet too elaborate for casual pirates. Then there's the folklore, local tales of lanterns seen flickering underground on moonless nights, or of a curse claiming 7 must die before the treasure is revealed. The most recent expeditions, chronicled in the History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island, have unearthed everything from Roman swords to shreds of parchment, but no chests of gold. Perhaps the real treasure isn't metal, but mystery itself. Oak Island taunts us with the possibility that some secrets are never meant to be solved. Every shovel of dirt turned, every tunnel explored, brings us closer not to answers, but to the chilling realization that the greatest enigma might be why we keep believing. The pit's true legacy isn't gold. It's the unshakable human conviction that just beyond our grasp, something extraordinary waits. And so the digging continues, because as long as that hole in the ground remains unfathomed, so too does our capacity for wonder. Deep in the heart of Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert, a gaping maw of fire roars day and night, casting an unearthly glow across the sands. This is the Darvaza crater, better known as the Door to Hell, a 60-meter-wide pit of churning flames that's been burning continuously for over half a century. But this isn't some ancient natural wonder. It's a man-made accident that spiraled into one of the planet's most surreal spectacles. The story begins in 1971, when Soviet geologists drilled into what they thought was a promising oil field. Instead, their rig hit a cavernous pocket of natural gas, causing the ground to collapse beneath them. Fearing the release of toxic fumes, they made a fateful decision: set the gas ablaze, expecting it to burn out in weeks. Decades later, the inferno still rages, defying every prediction. The crater's walls, streaked with molten orange and sulfurous yellow, resemble something out of a medieval vision of the underworld. Temperatures near the edge can soar past 700 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt certain metals, yet the surrounding desert remains eerily cool, creating a disorienting contrast between the inferno and the barren silence just steps away. What keeps the flames alive? The crater taps into one of the world's largest natural gas reserves, a subterranean ocean of methane that could theoretically fuel the fire for centuries. Scientists debate whether extinguishing it would be an environmental necessity. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas or a lost opportunity to study extremophiles, microbes that thrive in the crater's superheated soil. Some researchers even speculate these organisms could hint at how life might survive on other planets. But the door to hell isn't just a scientific oddity, it's a magnet for the daring. Adventurers trek across miles of desert to camp at its rim, lured by the hypnotic dance of flames against the night sky. In 2013, explorer George Kourounis became the first person to descend into the crater, wearing a heat-resistant suit and dragging a Kevlar rope behind him. His footage reveals a cracked, otherworldly landscape where the air shimmers with heat distortion, and the roar of burning gas drowns out all other sound. Local legends add another layer of mystique. Some Turkmen elders whisper that the crater is a portal to the spirit world, a place where wishes uttered into the flames might be granted or curses unleashed. The government, meanwhile, sees it as a tourist goldmine, officially dubbing it the Shining of Karakum and promoting it as a must-see attraction. Yet despite the crowds, the door to hell retains its aura of primal menace. Standing at its edge, feeling the heat lick your skin, it's impossible not to wonder, did we unleash something we were never meant to see? Or is this blazing crater simply a mirror, reflecting humanity's own relentless, unquenchable fire? For over 400 years, Norse settlers thrived in Greenland's icy embrace, building stone churches, herding livestock, and trading walrus ivory with Europe. Then, around the 15th century, they vanished. No battle cries, no mass graves, just empty homes frozen in time, their last meals still charred in the hearths. The lost colony of Greenland isn't just a mystery. It's a cautionary tale of how even the most resilient societies can collapse when the world shifts beneath their feet. One of the most compelling explanations points to the Little Ice Age, a climatic downturn that gripped the North Atlantic in the 14th century. As glaciers advanced and growing seasons shortened, the Norse clung stubbornly to their European ways. They wore wool in a land where the Inuit thrived in sealskin, refused to adopt kayak hunting, and watched their cattle starve as pastures turned to tundra. Soil samples tell a grim story: overgrazing and turf cutting left fields barren, while ice cores reveal decades of relentless cold. A single bad harvest could doom a family. A century of them doomed an entire colony, but climate alone doesn't explain everything. Recent excavations uncover a darker thread: violence. At a site called Sandnes, archaeologists found arrowheads made of meteoric iron, a material used by the Inuit, not the Norse, embedded in the walls of longhouses. Did the settlers, weakened by famine, clash with their indigenous neighbors, or were they the aggressors, raiding for food and meeting fierce resistance? The sagas, those vivid Norse chronicles, fall silent on Greenland's final years, leaving us to piece together the truth from scattered artifacts and skeletal remains. Some bones show signs of malnutrition, others bear cut marks suggestive of butchery. The line between survival and savagery blurs in the cold. Then there's the puzzling absence of bodies. If the colony perished en masse, where are the graves? One theory suggests a desperate exodus. Icelandic records mention a ship arriving in 1419 carrying Greenlandic brides, their faces pale with sorrow. Did the last survivors flee to Iceland or Norway, abandoning their homes to the ice? Another chilling possibility, assimilation. Genetic studies reveal some Inuit in West Greenland carry European DNA, hinting at intermarriage or enslavement. Perhaps the Norse didn't vanish, they became someone else. The ruins whisper conflicting clues. At H. Valsey, the best-preserved Norse site, a church wall stands intact, its mortar still holding after 6 centuries. Nearby, a wedding was recorded in 1408, the colony's last documented event. But at other farms, doors were left ajar, tools abandoned mid-task, as if the inhabitants stepped out and never returned. The truth may lie in the middens, those ancient garbage piles. Last year, researchers analyzing fish bones made a startling discovery. In the colony's final decades, their diet shifted from livestock to seafood, a silent admission of defeat. Greenland's lost colony forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Adaptation isn't just a strategy, it's the difference between survival and oblivion. The Inuit, who had mastered the art of living with ice, endured. The Norse, who tried to conquer it, became ghosts. As climate change reshapes our own world, their empty stone houses stand as stark reminders. The question isn't just what happened to them, but what their silence might one day say about us. East of Japan, where the Pacific stretches into an endless blue, lies a stretch of ocean so treacherous that fishermen refuse to sail it, a place they call the Devil's Sea. This is Japan's answer to the Bermuda Triangle, a graveyard of ships and planes where compasses spin wildly, radios fall silent, and vessels vanish without so much as a distress call. The legends here run deep. Ancient mariners spoke of dragons rising from the depths, while modern records list over a dozen ships and hundreds of lives lost under inexplicable circumstances. The most infamous case, the Kayo Maru No. 5, a research vessel that disappeared in 1952 while investigating the very phenomena that would soon claim it. Not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. Scientists have theories, of course. The Devil's Sea sits atop the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, where tectonic plates grind against each other with enough force to trigger underwater eruptions. Methane hydrates, those same gas pockets suspected in the Bermuda Triangle, could be seeping from the seafloor here, creating sudden pockets of buoyancy loss. Then there's the Kuroshio Current, a Pacific powerhouse stronger than the Gulf Stream, capable of dragging disabled ships into the abyss before they can signal for help. But the most compelling explanation might be volcanic activity. The area is dotted with undersea volcanoes, some still active, belching toxic gases or triggering microtsunamis that could swamp a vessel in seconds. Yet for every rational answer, there's a chilling counterpoint. Why do so many disappearances cluster around the volcanic island of Miyake-jima, where locals swear the water itself sometimes glows at night? Or the accounts from pilots who have flown over the zone, reporting bizarre electrical storms that appear out of nowhere, vanishing just as quickly. Some researchers point to magnetic anomalies, pockets where the Earth's magnetic field warps unpredictably, a phenomenon documented but never fully explained. Others whisper about government cover-ups, citing classified military tests during the Cold War that may have left behind unstable energy fields. The truth might lie somewhere between science and folklore. Japanese mythology has long warned of the Yumi Bazu, giant black entities that rise from calm seas to capsize boats. Could these legends be distorted memories of rogue waves or sudden whirlpools? Fishermen still trade stories of strange lights beneath the waves, or compasses that point inland toward Mount Fuji, as if the mountain itself were pulling them home. What makes the Devil's Sea uniquely unsettling isn't just the disappearances, it's the silence. Unlike the Bermuda Triangle, which straddles busy shipping lanes, this stretch of water is largely avoided, leaving its mysteries undisturbed. Satellite imagery reveals nothing. Deep sea probes return blank footage. The water here doesn't give up its dead. Perhaps that's why the legends endure. In an age where we've mapped every inch of the globe, the Devil's Sea remains a blank spot on the map, a reminder that some corners of the earth still laugh at our certainty. Sailors who venture near say the air feels heavier here, the horizon somehow closer, as if the sea itself is watching. And maybe it is. Death Valley holds a secret so bizarre it sounds like something straight out of science fiction rocks that move on their own. Scattered across the cracked mud flats of Racetrack Playa, these sailing stones leave behind long, meandering trails in the earth, as if they've slithered across the desert floor with no human or animal interference. For decades, this phenomenon defied explanation, fueling wild theories from magnetic anomalies to mischievous spirits until science finally cracked the case. The mystery wasn't just the movement itself, but the sheer variety of tracks. Some stones carved straight, purposeful paths, while others zigzagged or spun in abrupt loops. A few traveled over 900 feet, weighing as much as 700 pounds. Early researchers ruled out wind alone. These rocks were far too heavy to be pushed by breezes. Others suspected flash floods, but the playa's bone-dry conditions made that unlikely. Then came the ice theory. In the 1940s, a geologist proposed that thin sheets of ice might act like rafts, carrying the stones during rare winter conditions. But without proof, the idea remained speculative until technology caught up. In 2011, a team equipped with time-lapse cameras and GPS sensors finally witnessed the magic in action. The key, a perfect interplay of water, ice, and wind. On cold winter nights, shallow pools form from rain, freezing into delicate panes. When the sun rises, the ice begins to fracture into floating sheets, just a few millimeters thick. A light breeze as gentle as 10 miles per hour pushes these ice shards across the playa's slick surface, nudging the embedded rocks along with them. The stones glide at a glacial pace, sometimes just inches per minute, their trails recording every subtle shift in direction. By midday, the ice melts away, leaving no trace of its role in the journey. What's fascinating isn't just the solution, but how elegantly nature engineered it. The ice sheets need to be thin enough to move but thick enough to grip the stones. The mud beneath must be saturated just enough to reduce friction, yet not so soft that the rocks sink. Even the playa's extreme temperature swings sweltering by day, freezing by night play a crucial role. It's a cosmic recipe so precise it rarely occurs, which is why witnessing the movement took decades of patience. Yet some quirks remain. Not all stones move in the same event, and a few leave trails that spiral or double back on themselves, suggesting microcurrents in the ice or uneven terrain. Then there are the loners, rocks that stay stubbornly still while their neighbors sail away. Researchers suspect subtle differences in shape or weight distribution might make some stones more cooperative passengers than others. The sailing stones captivate us because they embody the slow, invisible forces that shape our world. What looks like stillness is actually motion too gradual for the naked eye. And while the mystery may be solved, the magic isn't lost. Standing on Racetrack Playa, staring at those enigmatic trails, you're reminded that even in the harshest landscapes, nature still has a few tricks up its sleeve, moving mountains one pebble at a time. Tucked between the rugged hills of Rajasthan, the crumbling walls of Bhangarh Fort tell a story that chills the bone. By day, it's a picturesque ruin, arched gateways, crumbling palaces, and temples adorned with fading carvings. But as the sun dips below the Aravalli Range, the air shifts. Locals whisper that shadows move where no one stands, disembodied laughter echoes through empty courtyards, and those who dare linger after dark never return quite the same. This is India's most haunted site, a place so steeped in dread that the Archaeological Survey of India has banned entry between sunset and sunrise, not for preservation but for protection. The legend begins in the 1600s with a tantric priest named Singhia, who fell obsessively in love with the kingdom's princess Ratnavati. Knowing she'd never return his affections, he conspired to bewitch her by lacing her perfume with a magical oil. But Ratnavati, warned by her courtier, foiled his plan. She poured the tainted oil onto a boulder, which rolled downhill, crushing Singhia. With his dying breath, he cursed the entire fort, vowing its destruction and the eternal unrest of all who dwelled there. Within a year, Bhangarh fell to invading forces, its people slaughtered, its grandeur reduced to rubble. Some say Singhia's spirit still prowls the ruins, while others claim Ratnavati and her doomed subjects replay their final moments in an endless, ghostly loop. What makes Bhangarh unique isn't just the tale, but the tangible unease that clings to the place. Visitors report sudden temperature drops in specific spots, like the Gopinath Temple, where no drafts exist. Others describe being tapped on the shoulder by unseen hands or hearing the faint strains of classical music near the dancers' haveli, long after the last performers turn to dust. Even skeptics can't deny the oddity's cameras malfunction. Batteries drain inexplicably, and dogs refuse to enter certain areas, their whimpers suggesting something human eyes can't perceive. But the government's nighttime ban adds another layer of intrigue. Official signs warn of strict legal action for after-hours trespassing, a rare move for India's typically laid-back heritage sites. Some speculate it's merely to prevent vandalism, but locals insist the rule exists because those who have broken it paid a price. In 2010, a group of drunk tourists sneaked in at midnight, only to be found hours later at the fort's gates catatonic, their clothes torn, babbling about figures with no faces. Rescue teams who have ventured in after dark report flashlights flickering out simultaneously, compass needles spinning wildly as if the land itself rejects intrusion. Science offers little comfort here. Geologists note the fort sits atop a network of subterranean tunnels, their echoes possibly distorting sound. Yet this doesn't explain the recurring sightings of a woman in a red sari identified by paranormal investigators as Ratnavati, who vanishes when approached. Or the black-clad figure often spotted near the priest's ruined hut, his silhouette seeming to drink the moonlight. Perhaps the true horror of Bhangarh isn't the ghosts but the curse's lingering grip. Villages nearby thrive, yet no one builds homes within miles of the fort's boundaries, respecting an ancient fear. Even the trees here grow crooked, their branches twisting away from the ruins as if repelled by an unseen force. Standing among those broken walls, you're left to wonder, are some places not just haunted but truly cursed? The stones of Bhangarh don't answer. They simply wait, holding their secrets tighter with every passing century. In the late 19th century, a series of bizarre artifacts surfaced in rural Michigan: clay tablets etched with Hebrew-like script, figurines resembling biblical figures, and copper tools inscribed with symbols eerily similar to ancient Near Eastern alphabets. These so-called Michigan relics sparked a firestorm among amateur archaeologists and religious enthusiasts, who claimed they were definitive proof that Hebrew travelers had reached North America long before Columbus. The implications were staggering. If true, they could rewrite the history of the continent. But beneath the excitement lurked a far more tangled tale, one of deception, greed, and the desperate human urge to connect the dots of history, even when the dots might not exist. The relics first came to light through James Scotford, a charismatic farm laborer who claimed to have unearthed them while digging post holes. His discoveries caught the attention of Daniel Soper, Michigan's former Secretary of State, who became an ardent promoter of the artifacts. Together, they amassed thousands of pieces, from miniature altars to lead plates detailing supposed Hebrew migrations to America. The timing was suspiciously convenient. The late 1800s saw a surge of interest in lost tribes theories, fueled by popular books and lectures speculating that Native Americans might be descendants of ancient Israelites. The Michigan relics seemed to offer tangible proof, and for a time they were displayed in museums and debated in scholarly circles, but cracks in the story quickly appeared. Linguists noted the inscriptions were a garbled mix of Hebrew, Greek, and pure gibberish, with characters often copied incorrectly from academic sources available at the time. The ancient clay tablets crumbled under slight pressure, their fragility at odds with artifacts that should have survived centuries underground. Most damningly, witnesses came forward alleging they'd seen Scotford forging the relics in his barn, pressing damp clay into molds and aging it with dirt and coffee grounds. Even the relic's defenders struggled to explain why every discovery happened under Scotford's watch, never by independent diggers or farmers plowing nearby fields. Yet the hoax's unraveling didn't kill its legacy. Some believers doubled down, arguing that even if some relics were fakes, others might be genuine. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then seeking archaeological evidence to support the Book of Mormon's narrative of ancient Hebrews in the Americas, initially showed interest before quietly distancing itself. Modern analyzers, including thermoluminescence dating, have consistently debunked the relics as 19th century creations, but the allure persists. In a way, the Michigan relics tell us less about ancient history and more about the stories we want to believe. How easily hope can blur into credulity when faced with a gap in the record. What lingers isn't just the shadow of a scam, but the uncomfortable question it raises: how many other discoveries have been shaped by the biases of their time? The Michigan relics stand as a cautionary monument, not to ancient Hebrews, but to the human habit of seeing what we've already decided must be there. And perhaps that's the real lesson hidden in those clumsily inscribed tablets, not proof of who walked this land first, but a mirror reflecting our own endless hunger for connection across the centuries. At the bottom of the Aegean Sea, encrusted with centuries of marine growth, a corroded bronze artifact lay hidden among the shattered remains of an ancient shipwreck. When sponge divers stumbled upon it near the island of Antikythera in 1901, they had no idea they'd just recovered the most sophisticated mechanical device from antiquity, a complex clockwork of interlocking gears so advanced it would take over a century for modern scientists to unravel its purpose. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, a 2,000-year-old enigma that shatters our assumptions about ancient Greek ingenuity. At first glance, the fractured fragments resembled little more than a lump of oxidized metal. But when archaeologists noticed precise gear teeth embedded in the corrosion, the truth began to emerge. This was no ordinary statue or weapon. X-ray imaging later revealed an intricate system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, some with tiny teeth barely a millimeter wide, arranged in ways that mimicked the movements of celestial bodies. The mechanism could predict solar eclipses, track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games, and even model the irregular orbit of the moon, a feat of engineering so precise it wouldn't be matched until European clockmakers invented the mechanical escapement over 1,000 years later. What makes the Antikythera mechanism revolutionary isn't just its complexity, but the sheer audacity of its design. The ancient Greeks believed the cosmos operated on divine, unpredictable whims. Yet here was a machine that treated the heavens as a calculable system, a clockwork universe governed by mathematical laws. The device's inscriptions, painstakingly deciphered from faded Greek text, functioned like an ancient user manual, explaining how to read its dials and pointers as they charted the positions of the sun, moon, and 5 known planets. Some researchers speculate it might have been the work of Hipparchus, the astronomer who first theorized the wobble of Earth's axis, or perhaps Archimedes himself, whose lost writings on geared mechanisms were rumored to exist. Modern reconstructions using 3D modeling have exposed even more jaw-dropping details. The mechanism employed a differential gear, a component previously thought to have been invented in the 18th century to account for the moon's elliptical orbit. Its front face featured a rotating zodiac dial paired with an Egyptian calendar ring, bridging two cultural systems of timekeeping. But the most haunting question remains, how many other devices like this existed? The Antikythera wreck was a luxury cargo ship bound for Rome, likely carrying spoils of war or diplomatic gifts. Was this mechanism a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, or just one of many scientific tools circulating among ancient scholars? The silence of history is deafening. No other artifacts of this complexity survive from the ancient world. Cicero wrote of a bronze sphere built by Archimedes that replicated planetary motion. Could that have been a predecessor? And why did this technology vanish for centuries? Some blame the collapse of classical knowledge during Rome's decline. Others suggest such devices were reserved for elite intellectuals, their secrets lost when their guardians died. Holding a replica of the Antikythera mechanism today, you're struck by its eerie modernity. Its gears whisper a truth we often forget, that the past was far more sophisticated than we imagine. This wasn't magic, it was science, meticulous, exacting, and breathtaking in its ambition. The mechanism's real legacy isn't just in the stars it tracked, but in the mirror it holds up to our own arrogance. How many other marvels lie buried, waiting to rewrite the story of human innovation? The Antikythera mechanism is more than an artifact. It's a humbling reminder that genius isn't bound by eras, only by the fragments we've yet to uncover. History's greatest mysteries endure not because they taunt us with answers we can't grasp, but because they remind us how much wonder still lingers just beyond the edges of our understanding. These 25 locations whisper a truth we often forget. The past isn't a neatly solved puzzle, but a living conversation, one where every discovery peels back a layer only to reveal new questions beneath. Whether it's the celestial precision of the Antikythera mechanism or the defiant flames of the door to hell, these sites challenge us to look deeper, think broader, and embrace the possibility that some stories were never meant to have tidy endings. What keeps us chasing these enigmas isn't just the thrill of the unknown, it's the way they redefine what's possible. Gobekli Tepe forces us to reconsider the origins of civilization. The Voynich manuscript dares us to admit that language itself can still outwit us. Even the humble sailing stones of Death Valley teach us that nature's simplest tricks can outshine our wildest imaginations. These aren't just footnotes in a textbook, they're invitations to stay curious, to question the narratives we've been handed, and to marvel at the ingenuity or folly of those who came before us. And that's where you come in, the best part of these mysteries. They're not locked away in some academic ivory tower. They belong to all of us, to debate, to explore, to reinterpret. Maybe you've stood beneath the hanging coffins of Sagada, felt the weight of Coral Castle's impossible stones, or have a theory about Oak Island's buried secrets that no one's considered. The conversation doesn't end here. Drop your favorite unsolved location in the comments or tell us which mystery keeps you up at night. History isn't just something we study, it's something we build together, one theory, one discovery, one shared what-if at a time. If you're the kind of person who loves diving headfirst into the unknown, you're in the right place. This channel is your passport to the past's weirdest, wildest, and most inexplicable corners. So hit that subscribe button, because where we're going next, the maps are blank, the clues are cryptic, and the only certainty is that history always has another surprise up its sleeve. The adventures just begin.